This is Unit 2, Practice 1, number 2. So before we begin, I want to go over two verbs that you may see on the Regents exam. The words are explain and justify. If you see explain, that means you must use words. And those words can't just be an explanation of what you did. I added and then subtracted, those kinds of things. The words must use specific geometry, vocabulary, and relationships. If you see the word justify, relationships, then that means that your calculations are sufficient. Your work is justifying your answer. Okay. You still may want to write a concluding sentence. However, depending on what it is, they ask you to justify. So explain, words, specific geometry, vocabulary, and relationships. Justify, calculations are enough. So in this problem, they ask you to find the measure of HKI. HKI. Again, if you have your highlighter, you may want to use that to identify what angle it is they would like you to find. Okay, so in order to find the measure of HKI, I need to identify the angle relationship here, which are angles at a point. And how does that help me? I know that the sum is 360. So we take the given angles, 133 degrees plus 147 degrees plus the measure of HKI, angle HKI, and we know that is equal to 360 degrees. When I add these two angles together, I get 280 degrees plus the measure of angle HKI equals 360. And when I subtract 280 from the 360, I'm left with the measure of HKI, which is 80 degrees. And now we need to do the explain part. So I can't just say I added the two angles and I subtract from 360, because again, that doesn't use specific geometry, vocab, and relationships. So how are we able to figure out the measure of HKI? These are angles at a point. And they sum to 360. Using the known angles, or angle measures, we found the measure of angle HKI. So notice I used that these were angles at a point. I told you what I used. I told you what that term meant. And then I said that's how I was able to do it. So that is a sufficient explanation for how I found HKI.